In this demonstration, I'm going to show you how quick and simple it is to import data into Sage Accounts. If you're not familiar with importing data, then spending a few minutes watching this demonstration could dramatically change the way you work. Importing is quick and simple and avoids the inevitable mistakes that occur when manually entering information. Once you're familiar with the process, you'll start to spot opportunities where importing can save you time. A lot of people think that it's used for adding new information and completely miss the fact that it can also be used as a way of updating existing information such as customer and supplier details or maybe your product records. You could add email addresses to your records so that you can start to email your invoices and statements, or maybe add bank details to your suppliers so you can use the Sage e-payments options to create payments files that you can then import into your online banking software. The most common use though is to add new records or transactions into your accounts. I'll quickly run through a quick demonstration to show you how easy it is. It might also get you thinking about the opportunities you have to make your processes a bit slicker. I've already got a spreadsheet containing about 100 transactions which I'm going to import onto the audit trail. Now these could be anything from year-end adjustments from your accountant, month-end postings such as depreciation, salary information, direct debits, standing orders, or even a list of employee expenses. As I'm going through the steps, think about how long it would take to manually enter this information. So if you've already got the information saved on a spreadsheet, then why manually enter it when you could import it? So we're going to close out of this file, and that's something to just bear in mind. If you are importing, you must close the file that you want to import. We'll then go back to Sage Accounts, and let's just have a quick look around Sage Accounts. We've got some customers. They all have a zero balance though. I've got some suppliers set up, again, all with zero balances. And if we just have a look at the transactions window, you'll see that there's nothing listed, and it confirms that on the status bar at the bottom there are no transactions. So really I've just got almost like an empty company with a few records set up at this stage. Now to begin importing, just go to File and then choose Import. Confirmation window appears. I'm sure you're familiar with that one, just prompting you to close any other windows. So we click Yes to that. And then the data import wizard appears, and as you can see there are 5 steps. The welcome step includes the backup option. Now the idea of taking a backup beforehand is if you make a mistake or you import the wrong file, then you can easily undo that by restoring the backup that you would take at this stage. Now that's a process that I'm sure you're familiar with, so we would encourage you always to take one at this stage. I'm just going to skip that step though, just to make it a little bit quicker. So we click Next, and then it takes us on to step 2. Now step 2 shows us the data types, so we need to select what we want to import. Now when you come to import, you might not have all of these options that I've got listed, as it depends on the level of software you're using. For instance, if you're on instant accounts, you wouldn't have an opportunity to import project records because you don't have that option in your software. What you do have on all levels of the software though is audit trail transactions, which is what we're going to demonstrate now. You can import things like customer records on all levels as well, product records, and also supplier records. So big time savers, those areas. So we highlight audit trail transactions, click Next, takes us on to step 3, which is to select the data source. Now there are 2 types of files that you can import it, comma separated or CSV, or probably much more commonly used these days as well is an Excel worksheet. So an XLS or an XLSX format file will be fine. So we're going to choose that option. We then need to browse for the file that we want to import. So mine's on my desktop. So there it is there. It's actually defaulted to that. It makes it nice and easy. So highlight the file, click Open, puts the path in for me. I'm then prompted to say, does the first row of my file, does it contain headings? So along the top of that Excel worksheet, does it contain headings, or is it purely data on that spreadsheet? So mine does contain headings, so I tick that box. Now, If your file contains multiple worksheets, you'll get this section here, and it will ask you which of the worksheets you want to import the information from. Now, I've purposely added one onto my template called expenses just so we can see this. If yours only contains one worksheet, then you won't actually get this option. It will just default to that one. So ours is on the transactions worksheet within that Excel file. We then click next, and it takes us on to step 4, which is the field mappings. Now there are 3 columns in this field mapping screen. There's the required column. Now some of them will have an asterisk in indicating that I must map that line. And if you scroll down, you can see there's a few more a bit further down. So things like I must map the transaction type, account reference, etc. The imported fields reads the columns headings, because I tick that box, it reads them from the imported file. If I just click back, take the tick out of that to say actually it doesn't contain headings, click next. So if it was data only, I would then need to say, right, well, that information is in column A, B, C, etc. So let's just go back, tick the box to say it does contain headings, and it recognizes them. Now because I'm using a template, it uses the same headings as what Sage requires. So these are the Sage fields, this column here. This is the type of information that can be imported. So things like transaction type, the account reference, the nominal account reference, department, etc. What you need to do in the field mappings is to say, right, well, the transaction type for Sage, that information for my transaction is in this imported field, and we would select it from the drop down. Now if it's got the same description, the exact same description, it will automatically map it for me. So the transaction type for Sage is actually included in the type column in my import file. Now I've purposely renamed one so that it leaves it blank, and obviously it's a required field, it's got an asterisk there, so I must map that one. So I just need to look at the drop down and say, well, that nominal account reference in Sage, that information is in that N/C column. So you just need to repeat that for all of the required fields plus any of the others which are optional. Now because they're optional, it means that you don't have to map it. So you don't have to import a department code, for instance. You might not have that information recorded against the transaction. If you do, it's optional, so you can choose to import it if you want to. Now once I've mapped everything, I then click next. Tells us you are now ready to import your data. So click import at the bottom. It does pass 1 and pass 2. Pass 1 reads the information and validates it to make sure it's got the right information in there and also that it's in the right format. And if it satisfies that pass 1, it then does pass 2 to write that information into your accounts. If any errors are found, it would halt the import and it would report that information in this records not imported box. As it happens, ours has gone through quite happily, so there are no errors. All of the records that did import, the 100 transactions on that spreadsheet, they're all listed in that top box. So each row there is a separate transaction. So it's imported them all, 100 transactions, very, very quickly. If I just click close, and then we'll have another quick look just at the transaction list within the software. So if we go into transactions, remember it was blank when we first looked at it. We've now got those 100 transactions in there. So that's incredibly quick, much quicker than if I got that spreadsheet, maybe a printout, and I'd started keying that information in. Plus obviously there's always the risk as well of keying in mistakes as well. So in this example there were 100 transactions, however there's no limit to the number of transactions or records that I could have imported in one go. So the potential time saving could be significant. I hope you found the demonstration useful and that it's got you thinking about potential time saving opportunities.